everything. I'm sharing the screen. Before that, participants mute all. 12 lectures are participants. 14 section once. Huh? Yes, sir. Okay, now it's okay. Yes, we are here. Page, yes, as audio was not available yesterday, we are coming back to the same topic. Huh? Is it okay, audio? Not okay. Wait, audio not coming, it seems. Let me test that. ఇక్కడ నేను సార్ జాయిన్ ఇదానా is it right, my audio is okay now. uh, See, this is the table 1, showing the distribution of workers, right? We want to see that how the employment is there in India. Here there is a connection or relationship between gross domestic product and working people. What is GDP? It is income of a nation. How it comes? It comes by the value of all final goods and services produced in a year, in a financial year. So, in a nation, when population increases, number of people working in different production activities also increases. Definitely we see that the value of final goods and services also increases. So this is a point says to us that there is a close relationship between GDP and working people, right? As per 2011 census, in our India, there is 1,210 million persons are working. We call them working people, in which 460 million workers are engaged in some production activities. Let us see that how is the distribution of workers in 3 sectors in the year 2012 and 2013. Dear students, the table given here shows the number of workers distributed in 3 sectors as well as rural and urban area for the year 2013 12 2012 and 13. So what is the major points we derive from this table? The major points is that the major points are that agriculture sector, still employment is high in agriculture sector, that is 49. I'm showing the dot here, right? Still agriculture sector is dominant in employment. When it comes to employment of male and female, most number of female, that is 63 percentage of female workers, are engaged in agriculture sector. Just 20 percentage of female workers we find in industries and 17 percentage of workers in service sector. And coming to the workers employment from rural and urban area in these three sectors, we find from rural area 67 percentage of workers are engaged in agriculture sector. Just 9 percentage of workers engaged in agriculture. It means that most of the people who are in villages, rural area, are doing the work in agriculture sector, right? And such rural people are not able to find good jobs in industries and services. It is 31 in urban area, whereas rural people working in industries 16 percentage. That means very little contribution of workers from rural area in industries and services. This table says that the employment opportunities are very less in industries and service sector. Employment opportunities are high in agriculture sector. One thing. Second point, we see that the people working in agriculture sector are illiterate. Most of the people in rural area are illiterate. They find only one way, that is agriculture, for their livelihoods. Those are not educated, right? Even though educated, they may not find work in industry because there is less scope for employment opportunities in industries and services. This is that uh, information we find from the table. Understand? So keep in mind that it is agriculture still dominant in employment opportunities, right? If you look at the contribution of these three sectors to the GDP, there is a change a lot that I'll show you again. Going back here, look at these pie charts. These two pie charts are related to two different periods. One is in 1973 to 74 and second is 2015 to 2016. What do we see here? Share from three sectors, that is agriculture, industries and services to the GDP. Agriculture sector contribution was 43 to GDP in 73 to 74 when its employment contribution was 74, right? We have seen the previous table, uh, that will come to the next one also. So this is the only the share from the three sectors. To understand that what happened to the share of the three sectors in these two different periods and employment of these three sectors in two different periods, we need to establish relative comparison between employment and share of these three sectors for two different periods. That is here. I'm going to take to that one. Look at here. This is a pie chart showing employment share of the three sectors to the GDP. Agriculture, which was dominant with 74 percentage in 73 and 74, declined to 47 percentage, right? But still we find agriculture is dominant. it is a dominant sector in employment. Industries that 11 to 11 it was 11 increased to 22. Services employment was 15 percentage increased to 31 percentage. So what do you see in this graph? We will find that still agriculture is giving lot of employment opportunities, right? Because its figure is 47%. When it comes to its contribution, it is not dominating. That is, agriculture is not dominant in its contribution to the GDP. Just now we have seen that one, right? Here is there. See, this is the table showing the contribution of the three sectors. Huh? Agriculture 43 in 73 to 74, but it has decreased to 90%. When agriculture employment is still dominant in 2015 and 16, its contribution should be high than the services and industries, but it is less. Here we need to think, when employment opportunities are high in industries, that is 47 percentage, its contribution to the GDP should be high, but actually it is less than the industries and services. So what do we understand here? What we have to understand is that it there are 2 points in understanding. One is that there is no output from agriculture sector sufficiently, right? Second thing is that all the people employed in agriculture sector are not working, right? So which of these two is correct, right? Both are correct here. Understand? There is a connection here. Understand? See, with this, what I said, that the people who are in agriculture sector are not working in the sense they are not fully employed, underline, they are not fully employed. It means, suppose a person is ready to work from morning 9 to 6 o'clock, but he may not find the work up to 6 o'clock. So what do you understand, whether he is able to work or not? He is able to work, but he does not have the work to do it up to 6 o'clock. So most of the people in agriculture sector who are working here, they are not finding work up to their full capacity. Whatever the capacity they have, that capacity, up to their capacity, they are not able to find work in agriculture. Then you may get a question that why does the people are still in agriculture sector, why don't they come out from agriculture sector, right? Yes, if they come out from agriculture sector, there is no employment opportunities up to the mark in industries and services. So ultimately, what is the source? That is agriculture sector. So most people by force, okay, that is what you call uh, uh, unwillingly they engage in agriculture sector, so that in agriculture sector the contribution is low. To understand this, we have one example. Okay, my dear students, you have to fill this table as per the pie charts. Okay, one I will show you. Employment in agriculture sector, what is in 1973 to 74, that is going to the employment year, it is 74. So 74 percentage should be filled in the column here where I shown the dot. Okay, so let us see that the employment in agriculture sector is more than required. To understand that one, that well, move with one example. Okay, that is what to call Gayatri. In the textbook we have one example, that is Gayatri. Understand, right? See, dear students, let's see that. Who is Gayatri? Gayatri is a small farmer. Wow, who is she? She is a small farmer and she has 2 hectares of unirrigated land. What is unirrigated land? She does not have the capacity to provide irrigation to her 2 hectares, right? How can we say that Gayatri is a small farmer? Farmers who have below 2 hectares of land are called small farmers, right? She depends only on rains. And what are the crops she is cultivating? Jowar and red gram. In our family, 5 members are there, right? These all the 5 members are working in the 2 hectares of unirrigated land. Actually, these all the 5 members are not required. Some 2 or 3 members are enough. So, for example, if two are enough, we will assume that 2 members of the Gayatri family are enough to work in the 2 hectares of unirrigated land. Then what about the extra 3 members of a Gayatri family working on the same piece of plot? Their work is nil. How can we say that their work is nil? When you remove those 3 members of a Gayatri family out of that plot of 2 hectares, then there won't be change in the production. That is output, whatever they cultivate. It may be the rice, it may be some vegetables instead, or it may be cotton, something. Okay, so the 2 members working in 2 hectares will bring the same amount of crop along with if 5 members are allowed to work in the same field of 2 hectares. It means that we will understand that 3 members work is nil, right? One thing, that is zero. The extra 3 workers work is zero, right? After going through the great observation, that is what you call in-depth observation. But when you look at that 5 members, when they are working in the 2 hectares of field, we will conclude generally that all the 5 members have got employment, right? But actually, 3 members in the Gayatri family are not employed. They are taking certain work, or what to call some work of the 2 members of the Gayatri family. Total 5 members are there, 2 are enough. So the 2 members work is divided and distributed among the 5 members. It means that the work which can be completed by 2 workers is divided and distributed among the 5 members. With this, we can conclude that all the 5 members are not working, right? Not sorry, all the 5 members are not fully employed up to their capacity, right? But when we look at them, all the 5 members appears that they are working, but there is some kind of unemployment in the Gayatri's 2 hectares of field, and such what we call disguised unemployment. Look at here, I am selecting the text here to show that this is what I want to say, that right. In this way, in Gayatri's 2 hectares of land, we find that 3 members are more than the required. So when more number of people are engaged than the required in any field, that is called disguised unemployment. Generally, This disguised unemployment we find in agriculture sector. Understand? Are you clear? What is about disguised unemployment? It is more number of people working than they required, right? Or what you can say that when we look at them, it seems that all are working, all are having a kind of work, but certain workers are not working there as their output is zero, right? So what we have to do here, huh? Right? See, dear students, in this disguised unemployment, one more what to call employment is there. That means all the five members are not fully employed. That means no one is not working up to their full capacity. They are not given full work in their hands, right? They are working under full capacity, right? They are not doing the full capacity of work. They are doing under full capacity. So such employment is called underemployment. When somebody works below their capacity, okay, that is called underemployment. This we can see not only in agriculture, in other fields also. For example, we take industries. In industries, we find workers working in a specific period of time. It is from 9 to 6 o'clock they will work, right? Then when they work up to 9 to 6 o'clock, right? Here we see that some are may not working here, right? Sorry, what do you call? Some are not finding the work, right? Some are not finding the work. That just wait, finish, finish sharing this. So taking the example, we can conclude that it's not apt. We'll take one example here. See, what to call a banana seller is there, right? Banana seller. Or we find that many street vendors who are carrying some items on the street, some will go on selling the vegetables, right? So if they work throughout the day, they'll earn something. It means that they are not fully employed. Understand? It means that a banana seller is not able to sell all his bananas. So they are not finding the work up to their full capacity. For example, in what to call an engineer is there. An engineer is working as a labor, right? What is the work of an engineer? Right? He has to the water, draw the water, the what to call the sites map, right? For constructing the houses and apartments, he will draw a plan, right? That is the work he has to do. But he is doing the work of labor. What is his capacity? His capacity is that to draw a plan for constructing a building, right? But he is working as a labor. It means he is not working up to his full capacity, right? He is ready to do that work, what he studied, that is engineering, but he is not able to find work, so that he is working as a labor. That means he is underemployed. Have you listened that when a recruitment takes place, uh, one MPhil candidate applied for a sweeper? It means that the person is not able to find suitable job to him, and he is undergoing to such a work which is below his capacity. Such is called underemployment. So in agriculture, in many of the what to call industries, we find underemployment when the workers are not employed up to their full capacity. Not employed here. Underline that. Not employed. They are ready to work, but they do not have such a work to do it. So that is called, that is they are ready, but by the situation they do not have the work. So when all the workers are not employed up to their full capacity, that is called underemployment. Understand? So what we stood up to now, we have seen that agriculture sector is still dominant in employment, but its contribution is very low. That is what you call 19, what you call 16 percentage of contribution to the GDP, right? Whereas industries and services are good. It means that there most of the people are in agriculture sector, right? 74 to 47, still 47 is high. Actually 47 percentage of workers are not required in agriculture sector, right? If you take out some 20, for example, or maybe some 15 percentage of employment if you take out from agriculture, there won't be change in its share to the what you call GDP, that is 19 percentage. Okay, that means when 47 percentage of employment is there in agriculture, its contribution is 19. If you make it this 49 47 to some 20 percentage, then also we find 19 percentage of contribution from agriculture sector. It means that some of the workers are extra in agriculture sector, right? If they are taken, if they are removed from the agriculture sector, then they may find work in some other areas, that may be in industries and services. It means that if we want to remove the extra workers from agriculture sector, we need to improve the employment opportunities in industries and services. So finally, what the conclusion we have come? There is no employment opportunities up to the mark. Sufficient employment opportunities have not increased in industries and services, so that there is a force of employment in agriculture sector. So to decrease the burden of employment on agriculture sector, we need to improve employment opportunities in services and industries, right? That is the first point. And what happens if the extra workers of the extra workers in agriculture sector are taken out, uh, and they were involved in some other works? There will be increase in their income. uh, to understand, to make it, to make you understand this, let's we go through again the Gayatri's family, right? So we have seen the Gayatri's example that 5 members are working, right? Actually 2 members are required. So when we take out the extra 3 workers, and if they are employed in some other work, it may be trader. Suppose some 3 members are doing some what you call selling the tea. Somebody is what doing a trade. Then what will happen? Income to that Gayatri family increases. For example, when all the 5 members were working on the same two piece of on the same piece of 2 hectares, if their income is some 10,000, okay, when 3 members are taken out, and the 3 members working outside earning some additional income of 5,000. Earlier, total income of that Gayatri family was 10,000 when 5 members worked on the same field, right? When 3 members are now in this example, the 3 members are taken out, so that they earning some additional 5,000. Now the Gayatri's family's income has become 10,000 to 15,000. Additional 5,000 has come. So the family income increased from 10,000 to 15,000, because the 3 members have got some new employment, or they shifted from our own plot, that is from their own field to some other work, right? It means they find some job in other fields. It means jobs are available in other fields. So when jobs are available in industries and service sector, then the people working in agriculture sector who are extra workers, they will shift from agriculture to industries, and from industries to what? Service sector. In this way, when workers moving from one sector to another sector, we call that is employment shift. What we call? Employment shift. So employment shift has not taken place in our India, right? That means there is no shift of employment from agriculture to industries and services, as there is no employment in industries and services. This is the what the points we are we derived from the two graphs and stem. So what is the way of increasing the GDP? The way to increase the GDP is that improve the employment opportunities. Then how to improve the employment opportunities? Guy taking the example that Gayatri have only 2 hectares of unirrigated land, right? So how to improve that? If we provide irrigation to the Gayatri's land, then she may cultivate another crop during the what to call a summer season. Generally, Kharif season will get rains. So the people who are cultivating crops depending on the rains, they'll cultivate in Kharif season. That is rainy season. When it comes to Rabi season, there won't be rains sufficiently so that they may not get irrigation, so they will stop. If government constructs some dams and projects and provide irrigation, then the farmers like Gayatri may take out 2 crops in a year. When they take out 2 crops, what will happen? Their income will increase, right? When projects are planned to what to call establish, then many people who are unemployed, they will find work in the process of constructing the projects, right? The KCR has constructed Kaleshwaram project. At that time, many number of people have got what employment, right? That is a way. Only 4 minutes. We are going to complete the session, right? So it is a thing that what we studied. I'm giving the gist. Okay. So what is the way of increasing creating the employment? It is that if employment opportunities are created, then there will be increase in the GDP, right? What we studied is how the employment is there in the three sector, right? Now I'm coming to this point here. Here you'll see that still employment is dominant. The first point I'm stressing to you. Okay. So in aggregate here the graph shows that there is a shift, there is a change in the income here. This is share employment. Here we see that. How much? See, the share of the three sectors to the GDP has changed. How much what to call change has come in the share of the three sectors to the GDP? In the same level, the change has not taken place in employment, right? The employment still is in agriculture high, but whereas the contribution from agriculture sector is low, right? And the service and industries contribution is high. That means the change what we observed in the share of the three sectors to the GDP, we are not able to find that a change in the share of the employment of the three sectors, right? It means that employment have to be changed from agriculture to industries and industries to what? Service sector, right? When there is employment change from agriculture to industries, industry to service sector, then definitely we will move towards modernization. And when we move to modernization, it is an indicator that India is moving from the developing country to developed country, because actually this is a path taken by the developed countries in their developing stage. Okay, this is what to call. I want to conclude the point. And to understand this, what to call the working people engaged in the three sectors, we will discuss the same concept in the next coming class by taking the what two different sectors, that is organized and unorganized sector. In coming class, I'll tell you that what happened to the employment in organized and unorganized sector. This is another classification of identifying the what workers distribution into the different sectors. One classification we have seen that workers employed into three different sectors. Okay, so after completing this, I want to say that you just write in your notebook that what is disguised unemployment, what is underemployment, right? And explain what you call, that comment on the graph this. Okay, graph 4 and graph 3 you comment. Okay, and the table also, that is table 1 employment working employment, that's completed. Okay, thank you my dear students. I'm going to close the session. We'll meet again as per our schedule. When we have at the time, we'll meet. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, ఇప్పుడు చెప్పిందా అన్నా మీలే కానా అన్నాడా సార్